Oh my gosh, I love it. It connected to my earpods and my iPods, whatever. We'll just go with that because that is what. Tweet, give it a repost. I don't even know if that matters anymore, right, Elon? Come in here and answer us that question if it does matter, if it doesn't. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me good. If you can hear me down there, give me a thumbs up. I want to see those thumbs. I want to see those emojis. Woo! We got some people down there. We got some legends. You already know what's up. Go ahead, request the fuck up it here. Engagement Farm. Let's get you up on that stage, okay? We got some shows lined out. We got a special guest up here. DALEKSpaceMonky. I'm excited. I got some intros. And hold on here. Let me get over here to the readout. All right, guys? We already got the can you hear me part. I haven't done this in a while. Our updates. Yes, we are still rocking and we're still rolling. There's no set schedule and it seems to be paying off considering how much we built in 2023 in regards to relationships within the space. Oh my God, look at this room. Look at these relationships. Look at these people. We've built events. We've done workshops and more, and we're still doing more. And I even got paid sponsored gigs, baby. Hashtag sponsored content. You better give it a like. You better give it a repost if you see it, because your boy still wants to be here. And you know I always give it back in your stocking, baby. We got Ryan Santa Claus up here, and we got JPEG J2. With that, let me bring JPEG J up here and check in on her, my executive producer of the show. She'll be doing the chat. Make her work, okay? Engage with the chat there. She'll be pinning stuff up to the top so my guests can sit back, relax, and I, as the host, can stay focused and engaged. We all know what it's like when your friend's over there clicking and clacking on a game and you don't know if they're paying attention or not. JPEG J, how are you doing today, my love?
Doing really good. I love how we're just starting when we start and we're just going loose with it. I love it. Also, Boo, your avatar is needs to be a little more animated.
Okay. All right. That's right. We're on StreamYard. You can join. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4 guests on there already. That means there's 6 spots left. So if you want to come flex, if you want to come see that VTubing, all that. Ooh, we got some requests in the background. Hold on. If I had another hand, I would do it. But my other hands are glued. 1 second, we'll get you up on stage because I got some more intros to go here. And with that, I also want to give a beautiful intro to Brian Smith of Cultural Remix is here, also known for marketing over at Staple First. Yeah, you know, created by Jeff Staple. No big deal. But anyway, with that, he also does community managing, video editing, a Spaces host, a writer, overall just great human being. And I'm so fucking happy he's here today. Ryan, thank you for coming. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, Boo. It's amazing to be here. Thank you for having me. You are an awesome human being, and all of the things you said, whether it's a Spaces host, an animated Clone X member, event host, and so I'm just really excited to be here to vibe with you and vibe with our guest host. I mean, Dalek is just incredible and really excited to get into it.
Yes, and I cannot think of a better person, a better celebrity artist to highlight in the space, since that's like, you know, the meta at the moment. That's what people are talking about at the moment. So I'm so fucking glad that we have DALEKSpaceMonky here today, an insanely talented artist that does paintings, drawings, and we find him here in the crypto space, playing with us on chain every day. And you guys need to go give him a like. You need to support him. You need to GM him. You need to GN him. I mean, here I have a quote. Back in 2010, he said, I sit at my computer from time to time. Well, he's sitting at it every day now. And with that, we got the guest today, DALEKSpaceMonky. How you doing today, my guy? Speechless. That bottom right corner, we'll click you down in the bottom right. Listen, when we're doing the
there we go.
There he is. Yes.
There we go, man. I'm still learning to use them computers, you know.
Well, you're sitting on it every day. That was a quote there. So we really appreciate you coming in here and taking the time. You're an insane legend who just keeps doing it, coming up every single day. I really recommend everybody go give this beautiful artist a support and follow. I mean, I was trying, like, listen, I try to support every artist. So I was trying to buy a piece recently, and I was between 220 or like 280 like crypto dollars. And then boom, he put out a piece on Base, baby. And then guess what? Doodles is doing it today. We'll get in that to a little bit later, but we need to learn about Dalek first, who did his first show in 1999. And guess what? Me and him are both VCU alums. So let's back it up there, my guy. You know, you're so tall. Like, did you start out on a basketball team? What did you begin before you started painting, before you started doing all of it, before the chain hit your chain?
I mean, I was skateboarding mostly through high school. Didn't play any basketball until later. So, damn, my glasses are crooked. I'm going to get rid of them. So that's the problem with wearing those reading glasses, man. They're crooked because I sit on them all the time because I forget where they're at. Anyways, yeah, man, I mean, I never really played basketball until I got older. So I wasn't playing at VCU. I was just skating around Schaefer Court and having a good old time. So, but
Well, you know, it's a good thing you probably weren't playing basketball at the time. I'm another Richmond, Virginia guy, but University of Richmond. And so
oh
we
yeah,
had a good rivalry going back in the day. So shout out Richmond, Virginia, and shout out the Spiders and VCU.
yeah.
Yep.
Like classes at Richmond, they wouldn't offer Japanese at VCU, so I had to go out to U of R to take it. So I took that long haul out Grove Avenue a few times a week to go out there to the campus, which beautiful campus, one of my favorites. So,
Oh man, I love it. See, I crumpled it up, guys. I'm crumpling up the interview. It's done. It's over because this thing just flows. It's like I've said, if you've listened to any of my spaces before, there's no coincidences in Web3. I've said this about 50 plus times because I've done about 50 plus shows and there are none. My God, skateboarding got me into so many relationships at VCU while I was skateboarding around Scheffner Court. And then I realized that when I started doing my final research papers, it took me 6 years to graduate, by the way. Don't do it that way. Van Wilder life. But I figured it out. I could go over to Ryan's college and go to their libraries and use their libraries and connect with more people. So that's, again, why I want all of us here connecting, you know what I mean? But you're not down in Richmond anymore, and you went to up to New York. What's the connection there? Why is it that everybody in Richmond finds their way to Brooklyn, New York? How is there a wormhole there, Dalek?
I mean, it wasn't a direct wormhole, man. I went to VCU back in the late 80s, and then I ended up moving to Chicago, and then went from Chicago to California, to some other places. I went to Colorado for a while, Ohio, ended up back in Richmond, and then I went to New York. So, I mean, at the time I was there at the grad school at VCU, which was like 2000, Richard Roth was the head of the program there, and he had a bunch of connections in New York. And he just kept telling me, man, he's like, you should drop out of grad school and move to New York. He's like, I don't even know why you're here. So that's what I did. I just packed up and moved to New York and started painting, full time.
But you got 3 degrees over here. Like, what's that all about? 3, or is it 4 now?
No, I'd like to go back and maybe get another one or two, but man, it's just part of not knowing what you want to do. I'm dealing with that with my kids right now, right? They're in school. They really don't know what they want to study, so they don't even know why they're staying in college. And I told them, I'm like, there's no pressure. Take your time, figure shit out. But I mean, when I went to VCU the first time, I was just getting my legs under me and figuring out what I wanted to study, what I wanted to do. And and it was through that, meeting people at the art program at VCU, that I ended up going to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. Once I went to Chicago and really decided to pursue art more seriously, and then, I moved to California and got really involved in the skateboard industry. And that's when I started meeting people and doing shows, and that kind of followed me back after. But, I wanted to, because I was self-taught, I was trying to get some sort of academic practice under my belt, thinking it would help when I went back to grad school. And what I realized was, that's not really the best place to do that, right? It was better for me to just throw myself in the fire in New York and learn that way, as opposed to grad school, which really wasn't teaching me anything. So, man, I think that's just part of life, right? Some of it's academic, some of it's on your own, but it's always a learning process, right?
Ooh, if I could hear, you being a dad, and happy belated Father's Day to all the dads out there. Seriously, you do make a big impact. I miss my dad every day. No sorries. He was a rock star and went out like one. So, I see him all over the place. I see him within me too. I love that commercial where they're like, "What are you reading?" "Oh, a book on nuclear submarines." "What does your dad read?" "Oh, yeah, nuclear submarines." Like, so I see that in myself every day too. But what I was saying there with like the
Wait,
VCU, go ahead.
was your dad a nuke too?
So, I know you're a military brat. So I come from like a military family, which is just, it's funny. Like, again, more multiple connections here. My
Right,
family, Navy, Lieutenant Colonel in the Air Force, uncle over there. But like, and I got accepted to VMI, Virginia Military Institute.
right.
Top notch, baby. I could have been up there, right? But
Oh, yeah,
before I went into college, I shot an AK-47, about 300 rounds at a piece of plastic. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna go to VCU. That's what I'm gonna do. So I went to I love guns, just don't want to be on the receiving end. You know what I'm saying? So I
yeah,
went
man.
to VCU for that, and I'm so glad I did. But going back to again, tying back into what you said there about being a father and saying, oh, you got time and all this. I would say I'm gonna push back here. I would say you do have time if you got the money, but because Van Wilder life, 6 years. I changed my freaking major twice. I tried to be a business major, but I'm dyslexic. So when that chart was skewing to the right, and they're like, "Yeah, it's a good chart," I was like, "Nah, it's a bad chart because of my dyslexia." So I just like ended up getting a political science degree with a public policy major, but that's fine because I'm out here politicking right now. So, but my question here at the end of that rant is, you being a father is successful in art, doing something entrepreneurial, and also having a father that was in successful Navy career. How do you like guide your kids when you're like between like, okay, well, you can be kind of safe over here, right? Or you can kind of like go over here to this entrepreneurial thing, and like, don't you need to have a business plan too? It's not just throwing spaghetti at the wall all the time.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think right now with where they're at, they just got to figure out who they are, right? I think that's the biggest problem. My generation, and having boomer parents, right, is that they all work. They get out of college, they get married, they have kids, they work a 30-year career, and they lived a very black and white existence. Again, not all boomers, but certainly my parents. But man, there's a lot of shit that happens in the gray, and there's a lot of things that if you're taught that what you're feeling or what you're dealing with is like, for me, it was like, well, art's a great hobby, right? But it's not a career. Or, your grades aren't good, so you must be stupid, right? So it was these really kind of hardcore black and white things, which were never true, right? No one bothered to understand, like, I'm not engaging because I'm not engaging, because I'm not interested in the material, and I'm getting yanked around every 2 years from one place to the next. So, with my kids, I've just tried to let them develop into their own people and understand who they are, because they're not going to find any success in life if it's not true to their own compass, and they can't find their own compass if they're constantly trying to appease somebody else or fall into somebody else's game plan, right? So the hard thing is you got to let them stumble and fall, but I really want them to have that foundation under them where they really know who they are, and then they'll understand what it is they do or don't want to go to school for, what it is in a job they do or don't like, or a relationship, or in themselves. But you just got to do the work, man. And all I can do is be here to talk to them and support them. Don't mind the sirens; they're not coming for me.
Dude, I love it when
Yeah,
there's a siren on a space. It's hot. Yeah, get in here, Ryan. You being a dad of two, and guiding your kids
ex-
along this journey.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to hop in here because one, shout out my dad, who was a military dad as well, colonel in the U.S. Air Force, moved around every 2 years growing up, right? So
Oh yeah.
definitely familiar with that lifestyle. Also resonate with the black and white comments, right? Or the
Hmm.
30 years in a particular career. And, there's a lot to be said for that. But we live in a different world, right? And I think you have to let your kids like Dalek said, grow into their own thing. And part of being a creator or an entrepreneur is failing a lot, right? And you don't fail a lot unless you kind of go into those situations saying, oh, I want to go do this. I think this is up to my skill. And then you're like, no, this is not what I want to do. And, it didn't work. And you learn
Yeah.
from that, and then you ingest it into the next thing you go do. And we kind of often ignore that the most successful creators or entrepreneurs have done that 1,000 times in their life
Mhm.
before they hit that stride, right? And you never know. So, yes, boo, you got to have like the funds and be able to get yourself through that. But that experimentation is incredibly important, I think, to the creative process.
It
That's
is.
why we need free healthcare and free fucking education like the Europeans have, and they get to go on vacation 6 times a year and look beautiful when I see them, and they're like, "Man, you Americans with your cheese and ham sandwiches and your skin and all this stuff." Like literally every time someone sees me, they're shocked by my age because of my skin. They're like, "Man, you're aging well for a white guy in America." I'm like, "Thank you, I really appreciate it. I'm doing the best I can here, you know." And to tie in here, I'm gonna poke fun at Ryan here earlier. I love pronunciation, guys. Pronunciation is important because boo botcher, right? But I get boo botcher a lot, which is cool. I can go into that later, but it's boo botcher, right? And pronunciation is important. Like we have Dalek, we don't have Dalek. It's Dalek, right? And there's another guy out there. I noticed when I was checking out a video of you, Takashi Murakami. And I saw that you had Mr. Dobe up on your wall, and I wanted to ask you like how important it is for world building when you're building Space Monkey, and did Space Monkey start out as a single character? Because I do want to get in here and focus on your art and what
Mhm.
you're doing. And Jay, if you could please pin up to the top that beautiful Zora print I recently grabbed from Base Layer 2.
Do it.
Now I'm giving you the mic, Dalek. If my question got lost,
Yeah.
how do you build your Space Monkey and the storytelling behind it?
Yeah, well, so the origins of Space Monkey they go way back, right? So ever since I was a kid, I started getting into science fiction, and I watched a lot of Doctor Who growing up. But I mean, it was this concept early on for me of humanity's relationship with technology, right? Which is more prevalent now than ever, and will continue to be so. But so the Space Monkey literally comes from that, right? It comes from when NASA was, or the Russians were training chimps, the Pavlovian response to push buttons. And as technology grows and we become more reliant on it, we become less self-reliant on our own internal compasses and abilities. um, Man, it makes certain aspects of people smarter, but it also makes people dumber, right? So people get reduced and they get hooked on convenience and technology, and so it becomes this really uh, bizarre relationship, right? Because again, technology tends to come quicker than people can really comprehend it, wrap their heads around what all they're agreeing to when they're using it, right? So again, we've lost privacy, and it's much easier to manipulate people and be controlled, and so there's a lot of aspects that again, have been a topic of discussion since, the atomic age started, right? And probably before that, when cars and planes were things. So it, if my whole life, that's really been it, right? Like my background is as a sociologist and an anthropologist. So I like discussions around human culture, society, evolution, these things, and human behavior patterns. So that was it. It's just Space Monkey. The concept evolved out of that, and then the character, which is just an amalgam of probably watching 8 million different cartoons growing up, right? um is meant to be representative of that, to be representative of this kind of part, kind of not human, but part flesh, part mechanical, kind of empty hollow vessel that's kind of filled up as it goes along. And so that's it. It's just a representation of kind of our experiences as human beings, and really just kind of my journey through life, and the things I experience and the stories I want to tell through that.
Damn, dude, that is fucking deep. See, I love that. There's so much to discover with streetwear art, and there was a certain point to me where I get like super deep in. I'm like on documentary 25, and I'm like, okay, you're gonna suck it all up, and you're gonna end up just like knowing everything to the point where you're over it and move on. So I'm just glad you like expressed that to me, because I thought it was like, oh, this is the guy, just like it's another Mickey Mouse, maybe. You know what I mean? But like that's just like maybe what I connected with it, but I really do feel that I didn't choose this body. I'm just stuck in it, like I have a great story of when I first came to conscious where I looked over at my mom. I'm like, where am I going? Where are we going? She's like, oh, we're going to your babysitters. I'm your mom. I'm like, okay, all right, here we go. You know what I mean? Like, here we
Yep.
are. I just remember that day still to this day. And that's why I picked my, avatar here. And, you're an artifact holder too. I see a lot of Clone X down there in the audience. Shout out to my artifact community. Woo, baby. We are looking fire on the timeline, but not just one timeline, multiple timelines. Ooh. Listen, when there's smoke, there's fire, baby, and it'll catch quick. So, Dalek, you're also an artifact holder yourself too, and a daily trader. If you guys go to his profile, you can check out his wallet. He's not afraid to show you what's going on there. What drew you to that project? Was it because you were originally a fan of Takashi's?
Yeah. I mean, clearly there was a connection with Murakami and all of that, and then it just when I came into Web3, a lot of it it's just to learn, right? So I knew nothing about Artifact, and I thought it was interesting what they were doing, and so I came in and I really dabbled in everything, and I tried to get involved with every community and learn as much as I could, and I really wanted to soak up as much as I possibly could from all different angles. So I was trying to understand, whether it's sandbox and gaming and metaverse stuff or PFP projects or art-based stuff or the Pepe, and then you just kind of find your people and what you connect with and what resonates and what doesn't, and and how things change and evolve. And because one thing was clear coming into Web3 is it was going to evolve so quick that nothing that was happening at the time was going to stay the same, right? And so you have to learn and relearn and relearn again. And but that's exactly what I like about it is, I constantly it's good to learn new things all the time. And I firmly believe that where all this is going is the future, right? I mean, I think the digital economy, and so VR and AR and all these different types of experiences, AI and all this shit is going to be part of our daily lives. It's going to be incorporated into everything. So, it's best to understand it because, it's the same thing, man. Like my dad did his best to stay on top of technology up to a point, but my mom just refused, and so to this day, she won't use a cell phone. She doesn't like email. Um, and I think it's important to just be aware of what's going on in your world, right? And if your world's changing, then you need to change with it. You don't want to just stay put. And especially nowadays where age is completely shifted, right? Like middle age is no longer middle age. So, man, it's being a lifelong learner and continuing to try to stay on top of things and learn and grow and build relationships and move. And, it's important to me and something that, I want to keep doing. So, yeah, I got involved with that because of Murakami, and then I liked what Artifact was doing, and then I worked for Nike for years, and so the connection to Nike was interesting, um, and so yeah, man, it's just understanding kind of what the applications of a lot of this stuff are, because I do think no matter what you have, it has to be a hybrid, man. I don't think you're going to have a solely digital economy. I think everything is going to have to mesh back into physical on some level because there'll always be a need for tangible physical things in your hand, right? It's never going to change. um, so I think anything that's
Yeah,
to create and tie that back together is important. And because I come from the physical world first as far as creating art physically, understanding how to meld those two worlds will be an important part of kind of where I continue to go through this journey,
I love that. And that's something that I wanted to talk about a little bit because you started in a medium that was like very personal to you, from the skateboarding to creating skate decks that were physical and then going into more of a studio environment and things like
Mhm.
that. And now digital art. So, what's that change been like, not just from a technology perspective, but a medium perspective as an artist? And was there any difference in like, the Space Monkey story when it was on a skateboard versus now digital medium where you maybe have more possibilities to like open up, that engagement or storytelling with your audience?
Yeah. So the big one, and there's two aspects to it, but the one that's been the furthest kind of leap into discovery, and because Diego's here, I want to address all the animations. So Diego does all my animations, and so I met him. So one thing I'd always wanted to do, because you can relay a lot with a cartoon character in a still image, but clearly it's meant to be animated. But I have no ability to animate. I didn't care enough to learn it technically because it just wasn't. So when I came into Web3, and my buddy Lurk, who is really the person who got me into Web3, he kept pinging me about Tezos stuff and Clubhouse, and he's like, "You got to get in here and do this." And I'm like, I don't have time. It's over my head. And there was a group of people, and they kind of baby stepped and walked me into it, which was great because it helped me. It helped me learn. And then, yeah, there's one of Diego's animations. So Lurk introduced me to Diego, and it's great because Diego immediately got he already knew my work, he liked my work, and so I was able to give him some still images and let him run with it. And the thing I like about collaboration is when someone else gets your work, I don't want to dictate. I don't want to see my version of what it would be. Like, it's more interesting to see how someone else would interpret my work through their own skill sets. So Diego and I just hit it off right out of the gate. And of course, he came immediately with just the hottest, like, just I was blown away. But, what Web3 allowed me to do was, you know, thinking of the old school. So originally, like, I had pitched animated series to Nickelodeon and Disney and things, and you have to have writers and storyboarders, and there's all these things you got to jump through to deal with middlemen, and so there was no real way to do it, right? There was no, I didn't have the financial means to hire the people to build everything. I had done like an animated commercial for Fuel TV through Titmouse, and but I couldn't even afford to pay Titmouse to animate something for me. It's just out of my range. Um, and because there was no way to monetize it on my end, right? It was just to create a pitch. It was easy to put off because I'm like, I can't spend all this money to just go pitch somebody and probably not get anywhere. So when Diego was able to animate, and I was able to sell them as NFTs, digital artwork, and then I could monetize it, then it opened the whole window of, well, let's do more animations. And then now the animations can get longer and they can get more involved, and I can understand how to storyboard more. And Diego and I have this working relationship where it gets easier and easier. Um, and then so now you see Super Space Monkey World, which Diego and I share this love of video games. And even though he comes a little behind me, you know, 80s, 90s, it was really all the same, right? So these great pixelized games from those eras. And so the ultimate for both of us is, I want a Space Monkey video game, right? If I could create a Space Monkey video game that people could play, that would be it. I'd be done. I'd be out. I'd be happy. I could retire. So what we did is originally I had Diego mock up what became Super Space Monkey World, just to try to go to pitch to a developer what a pixelized Space Monkey would look like and how we could create a game for it. Diego, as usual, took the ball and ran with it and kept running and kept running. So to be clear, Diego, even though this is it's 777 was the original, but Diego handmade each one. He didn't generate these. He hand built each one. It clearly took a lot of time and energy and effort, but man, he cares about his craft and his fine. If you go look at Diego's other work, you'll be blown away because I think he's one of the best pixel artists around. Um, so give him his props, but he's working on Super Space Monkey World 2 now, which, trust me, once you see it, it's the dumbest thing. Like, I see it and I'm immediately losing my shit, laughing. So, anyways, man, that's the big one, is being able to see your work animated, brought to life, is huge. That was such a massive leap forward for me as an artist to be able to see it and see it move, because then I could even address it in a still manner completely differently than I did before, because now I can actually see it. So it was like making a toy. Like I had to have a sculptor create the sculpt for the toy based on my ideas, but and one day hopefully that'll become a 3D avatar. But you know, man, when you can see your work in that light, it changes how you start to create. Um, you know, and I still hand draw everything because I like to draw. So I hand draw it, scan it, put it in Illustrator, color it, and do all that. So the other aspect of that was I would always make Illustrator files for screen prints, right? So most screen printers aren't going to want to touch anything that's more than 10 to 12 colors because, you know, even if you have setups, it's hard to register past that. You know, or they're gonna charge you an arm and a leg, and the whole point of prints is to keep it affordable. So again, once I got into digital art, I could go back and take files that were originally 8 colors, 10 colors. And I always remember being pissed that I had to cut colors out of prints. I'm like, this should be 20 colors or 30 colors. Well, so all of a sudden with, you know, being able to make digital art, I could go in and take files and make them 50 colors, 60 colors, 100 colors, you know, and I think that's really the way because that's the way my paintings are. My paintings are 70, 80 colors plus. And so that's how I've taught myself. You know, I teach myself space and layering and color and all these things by doing all that. So, you know, being able to create art digitally allowed me to explore my work, because painting will take me like 2 months to make, where I can do a drawing in an Illustrator file in like 2 to 3 days. So it was much quicker to conceptualize, work through things, flip colors out, do all these things that I just couldn't do before. You know, if you look at Dalek blocks, um, you know, I took a single image and handmade 250 variations of it. And so that was an experiment for me to see, like, what can I do with one image to make it vastly different, right? So it was a good exercise for me to understand making something generative without making something generative, right? So how do I make different eyes, different pupil sizes, different colors, different color combinations, different backgrounds, different attributes? So all these things in digital art have helped me completely push the boundaries of what I do, and including combining my Space Monkey work with my geometric work. So it's created a massive evolution on every level of my work. I mean, it's indescribable, really.
Dalek, you answer so much when you answer one question that you answer all my questions. And you know, we got another legend up on stage that has also worked with Nike before. And I don't know if he's worked with A-Life, but you know what? I'll ask him that. Jeff, how are you doing today? Have you worked with A-Life in the past? Because Dalek has.
What's up, y'all? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound great.
Yo, what up? Dalek, what's up, man? It's Jeff Staple here. I don't think we've ever formally met, but I've been a observant of your amazing work and body of work for decades now. So happy to be on the
Well,
spaces with you.
no, it's a true honor, Jeff. I mean, I'm a huge fan of yours, and I can't tell you how much respect I have for you and everything you do. So thank you for being here, man. It really means a lot.
Thank you, man. We did we did do something with A-Life. And I'm really close with Rob, one of the founders. I'm close with all of them, actually. I think Rob is just the last man standing at A-Life. But yeah, for our I'm just trying to think of the decades. Was it 10 or 20? I think it was our 10th anniversary. We did an A-Life collaboration together with Staple. So that was a big moment for me, for sure.
Yeah, those guys are great. I saw Tony more recently. He'll come to openings. I haven't seen Rob in a while. But that was such a great space, man. I used to go hang out there all the time, and you know, they'd have those great group shows. You know, it's fun to be in those record shows and you know, a couple other projects they did over there. But
Yeah,
you know, those dudes are underrated, man. I still think they're some of the best creators around.
most def. What up, Boo? How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing good, Jeff. How are you doing? I'm so glad you got your account back, Jeff.
Yes, I was hacked. I was like locked out for like 8 months. But yeah, glad to be back. This is actually the first Spaces I'm on since I got my account back. So thanks for bringing me back. But yeah, I just wanted to hop on. I heard you guys were chatting through my man Ryan. Shout out Ryan. And yeah, just wanted to hop on and say what's up. I can't stay for long, but I know you guys were talking for a bit now, so I don't want to make you repeat anything on my behalf, but I'm just here, man. If you wanted to ask me anything or have me remark on
Yeah,
anything, I'm
but
just here. I'm a fan.
No,
yeah,
thank you.
I was gonna say I maybe got something based on a comment Dalek made earlier that I've heard you talk about before, Jeff. So he said when he collaborates, he likes to see the collaborators' take on his work versus dictating too much how that turns out. And I know you've said similar things about how you approach collaboration, because you've done this for so many years that you kind of
Yeah.
want to see new and fresh takes. But maybe you can speak a little bit on that topic.
Yeah, almost word for word. Is it Dalek or Dalek? I've always wondered.
It's Dalek. So because they were the Daleks in the Doctor Who, I always just tell people I Americanized it,
Yeah.
making
Okay.
the A hard. So yeah, it's Dalek.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I almost say the same thing word for word, man. Like, I don't want to be, as you know, there's many artists and creatives in our world where it's just like they have a thing, they have a trademark look or thing, and then when a collaboration comes, they're like, let me just throw my trademark thing on top of that, right? And it's just like, I mean, there's some dopeness in that, but there's also just like that's gotta be boring after a while. I don't do
Right.
collaborations like because I'm just trying to make a quick check. I do them because they actually stir something new and maybe like allows me and my brand to like elbow into new spaces and new ways of expression, right? Like, so it doesn't excite me to just like, and frankly, because of our pigeon logo, we do have a thing that we could literally just throw on shit and just make it hot and people would love it, but I always still, even with our pigeon mark, we try to like just again elbow our way out and just try to expand on what it means to be known as a staple thing or a Jeff Staple collaborated on thing. So I love sending like my logo AI files and vectors to like the other side of the table and being
Hmm.
like, what would you do? And I feel like a lot of artists are like really overly precious about that. Like, no, just let them freak it. It's not like they're going to just make a million pieces right away. Like, you guys can actually ping pong back and forth now, right?
Yeah, man. I think it's always good. Like I've always kind of tried to leave my work purposely ambiguous. Like one thing I picked up even in the early days of doing shows was when you don't title something or you have an ambiguous title and people start bringing their personal stories or their personal point of view to something and you start hearing them talk about how they're viewing your painting and then all of a sudden my mind's just spinning like, oh wow, I never thought about that, or oh now I'm going to try this. So I always like having that different input because I find it's really rewarding, um, to just keep trying new ideas and seeing things through different lenses. And you do know because Space Monkey is iconic, and it's hard sometimes to find new and interesting ways to develop it or move it forward so it's not just repetitive. And so all those things help me just kind of keep elevating what I'm doing and finding ways to expand it and also keep myself engaged, because I'm sure as an artist, man, that's hard sometimes when you have something that's repetitive, is to keep yourself in your own head in the game.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, while I got you up here and that you have to go soon, I would just like to ask two questions. One, what the hell was on your head the other day that was steaming?
Oh, that's it's a scalp treatment.
Dude, I need to get that. That looks
It's
bomb, by
really
the way.
nice. It's really
Yeah.
nice, man.
And the second,
It's scalp rejuvenation. Check it out.
I'm gonna get on that. Yo, take care of your scalp. It trickles down, y'all. Start at the head all the way to the toes. And
Yep.
the next thing I'm gonna ask, I want Dalek to answer this too right after you. Jeff, why are you still coming here? Everybody's like, I don't want to come here anymore. This timeline's melting down. It's racist. There's all this crazy stuff. What's the best advice you got for those people? Touch grass or something else?
Why do like, is that a bigger question for like why am I in the space even?
Like so many people have quit. They're
Or why
like,
am I
it's
on
a
X?
rug. I hate Web3. It's racist. Look at all this stuff. But we're here. We're still doing it. Why? Why do we? Why do you still keep coming back? What is it that you see in this space that keeps you coming back every day?
Yeah, I mean, everything in life has the possibility of being quote unquote a rug, right? Or like a scam, like the American financial institution is a rug, the music industry is a rug, you know what I mean? Like everything has its bad elements, and I just feel that the positive upside of what potentially can come out of this community, whether it's from a technological level with blockchain or crypto, or if it's from a community like you know decentralization and like a dismantling of the hierarchy of the old world. Those are just two things, but those are the two things that come up the top of my head right now. But those two things are like they're just really strong. And yes, once you build something as strong as that, you're going to immediately get bad players that come in. But I still firmly 100% believe in those principles. And I know that the 13-year-old version of Jeff Staple, if he had those two tools alone at his disposal, he would have gotten so much further, faster, brighter, bigger. And so I know that there's a 13-year-old out there in this space right now that has these at his or her disposal, and I want to be there. And Dalek too, we're OGs, we've been in this for decades now, to be like, yeah, all of this power that you have is very shiny and bright, but there's still some fundamental wisdom lessons that you can learn that will still guide you along the way. So that's why I still love coming back, and I'm still really passionate about everything that's happening in the space.
Ooh, pregnant pause,
Yeah.
y'all. Before Dalek goes off, take that in. We need that. Take it in, absorb it. Y'all need it. Go back. It is recorded. Go back and listen to it. We need that. Thank you, Jeff. Goodness gracious, appreciate that. Thank you, Dalek.
Right. Yeah, man. I mean, he summed it up, right? I mean, it started making me think. It's the same thing when I first came into the space. I think part of what I liked about it was those, right? Like, I grew up in the 80s, 90s, so it's punk rock and skateboarding and graffiti and counterculture and all these things at the time that were important. And it was important because everything was tangible, right? It's like instead of being lost in this thing, it's like you go see punk bands play. People were recording in their basements. They were making their own record labels. People were starting their own skate brands. So it put everything like in your reach, right? And so instead of worrying about where you fit in this larger picture, you just started creating your own world, right? And so that's what empowered so many people was instead of just feeling like I don't have a place, you make your own world. And as that world grows and those relationships, which again you talk about relationships a lot, it is important, man, because that is your anchor. That's what you help build on, right? And those cultures and those communities is what I got when I came in. Now, of course, you're always going to have bad players, and in a space where people can make so much money so quickly, of course, it's destined to happen. You're also destined to have good players that have good intentions that just hit dead ends. Like no one knows where this is going, but I think the cool thing about that is it circles all the way back to talking about the kids. Even is I didn't have to have a plan when I was 18, 19, right? Like I would just go crash on couches, skate, work odd jobs, figure things out, and step by step, little by little, from meeting this person to that person to going here to going there and putting myself out in the world, I got to where I was, right? And it was just an organic thing. And so I think it's the same thing in the space where you organically will filter out the shit that doesn't make sense to you and gravitate and find the people that do. And I think that goes for everybody. They'll slowly filter and find and fine tune and evolve, and I think that's an important thing. I talk all the time about, man, when I was in high school, like we used to have to flip through Maximum Rock and Roll, which I had to order. I lived overseas in Japan. I had to order it, and it would take like 6 weeks to get there. And you have to order like cassette tapes from like punk bands out of the back of magazines, right? And you had no idea if it was good or bad half the time, but it was like $3 and you were like, fuck it. But the process of discovery is crucial, right? Like it's the most crucial part of being a person, man, is discovering things on your own. And you have so much more now, right? Like you're just flooded with shit everywhere, and everything's curated. Is this Instagram and algorithms and this and that, and so discovery is the thing again, where you have to filter out all that noise and find what resonates with you. And I think that that's a really valuable part of the evolution of any person. And your character comes from finding like-minded people and growing up along them and finding these paths in the next. And so I think, yeah, the 13-year-olds and all the people coming up through this space, the ability that this gives artists from, I love that it's an international community, right? Where there's artists of all ages from all different corners of the world involved and having a voice and being able to find things that work and being able to change the course of their lives just through having access to this. So I think it's endless. And again, it's just getting started. So, I mean, I
Absolutely.
think that's the roots of it. I think that draw me to it is there's so much potential, and it will be a great place for so many people to discover and find things, and things like spaces, right, where you can come listen to somebody. That
Yeah.
could be life changing for somebody, right? You don't know until you know. So
One thing I wanted to add on to what you just said, it's such a good point. When we were growing up, culture and things that were interesting to us came in like dribbles. You know what I
mhm,
mean? Like if like you'd have to really search out. It's almost like drawing water from a cactus or a rock. Like you'd
uh,
have to look so hard to find this little drip of inspiration, and then you're just lapping it up like you're like a camel. But
yeah,
the difference is nowadays, because of social media and technology and internet, culture comes at you like a fire hose, right? It's
hmm
just like everything is just shooting at you like a jet stream. And so
yeah,
the job of a young person today, what you need to do, whoever's listening to this, is the seeking out of stuff is done for you, right? You could sit in your underwear on your sofa and seek out whatever the hell you want. The challenge for you now is, what are you actually passionate about? Because there's still, what hasn't changed? Time of day. There's still only 24 hours in a day. You cannot change that, right? So you cannot absorb everything that comes out of the fire hose. You still have to now choose which one you're really passionate about, what you authentically want to be a part of, represent yourself with, and pick and choose your battles. Because I think what causes paralysis in young people is when they try to, this, as the saying goes, drink from the fire hose, right? And they just end up choking, and it's like you can't actually absorb all of that, and then other things. I don't want to get into like ADHD and depression and like overwhelmed with like imposter
right.
syndrome and all this stuff. But it's because you're trying to drink from the fire hose, dude. You're only really you only have enough time for like maybe 4 interests. You can't have 400 interests, you know what I mean? So I think that takeaway that you said, the comparison between like you getting, you know, cassette tapes from Japan every 6 months and stuff, like we were.
Oh, did he rug?
Uh,
Jeff,
well,
you rugged it cassette tapes.
he rugged on cassette tapes, but he was making some great points,
That's
man.
why, hey,
Yeah.
old technology. That's why you got to go
Yes.
with the new technology there. But Jeff, I
Am
wanted
I
to
am I
jump in
back now?
here.
Okay, I'm
If
back
I
now.
could jump in here real quick, Jeff, I wanted to say that you are just phenomenal. If you do collab with Jeff Dalek, he will take care of you. He made sure that when I worked with him, I had a hotel. I was well rested. So, like, I'm happy that you guys could come up here, meet up on the spaces, because honestly, that's what like Web3 is about. You meet up on the spaces, then you connect IRL. And, we're all on the East Coast, so we can all connect easily. But Jeff,
Boo,
you were saying
Boo,
about Japanese
did I
tapes.
not have donuts provided for you?
No, you did, but I couldn't
Dalek,
eat
man,
them. I couldn't
I
eat
got
them.
donuts if we do something together.
All
That's
right.
that's my enticement.
Are you up in New York, Jeff?
I am, yeah.
Okay. I wish I would have. Next time I'm up there, I'll let you know.
Where are you normally?
I've been living in North Carolina for the last
Okay,
7
that's not
years.
far.
No, it's not far at all. I was up in New York for NFT NYC. Although it rained, it was crazy weather. But No, I left
No,
New York and moved down here to raise my kids because I just
word.
didn't want them. I didn't want them growing up in the city. So
No,
as you can,
it'd be great to connect, man. It'd be
you
great
know,
to connect in real life.
no, it would be, man. I'd really, I'd love to sit down and chat with you, but I wanted them to grow up with this in the background and not building. So
Of course. Not pigeons.
came down here. No, we don't have pigeons. We got all kinds of other crazy
You got
birds.
hawks, probably.
We got hawks,
Hey,
woodpeckers, crazy
also
shit.
while I'm up here, guys, me being the host, sorry to cut in here. I'm like Larry David, you need a good middler. I like
Yes.
when people come to my house, I'm like, nah, we're not sitting them next to each other. We're not. We're gonna put him here. We're gonna put her here. It's gonna work out. It works out, y'all. You'll have a better time if you do it. So we got some people up here on stage. If any of you want to raise your hand and ask any of these legends the questions or advice or whatever, this is your time to shoot your shot. Soul had a really good question in the chat. So Soul's got his hand up. But Soul, let me ask this question that you asked in the chat. Dalek, you go to school with Takashi Murakami. Takashi Murakami. Oh, I'm sorry. Go, Soul.
He studied with him, I think, at some point in a studio.
I did.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah.
I did. I just realized I wasn't following Jeff on Twitter, so I just did that, Jeff. So I'll hit you up. So yeah, when I first moved, it was really weird, man. I first moved to New York in 2000, and I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do as an artist, right? So I was living in California, like '96, and I had met Shepard Fairey, and Shepard kind of started teaching me to screen print, and I started doing some group shows in LA. And um, funny enough, I had met Cause before that. This is a funny story, so I do want to tell it real quick. So I was living in Chicago, and I had to write. So you get graffiti magazines, and I wanted to travel and take photos. So I was taking a lot of photos of graffiti in Chicago, and I wanted to travel. And so I wrote, TD did Undercover magazine. So I literally wrote him a letter because that's what you had to do to his PO box, and gave him my home phone number. And he wrote me a letter back, and he called me, and he's like, look, anytime you want to come to New York, come to New York. So this is probably 94 or 5. So anyways, I drove out to New York. He meets me at a gas station right outside the Holland Tunnel. He lives over in Jersey City, and he had Cause with him. And he's like, come on, let's just go check out spots. So we went all day, checked out spots all over Jersey. We went up to the Bronx, went over to Harlem, to the Hall of Fame, went to the Queens Freight Yard. I mean, all over, man. I think I took like 30, 40 rolls of film that day because you had to use rolls of film. So last stop we go to is the Queens Freight Yard. And we're coming out, and Cause is like, he's like, dude, your car's not there. And I'm like, oh shit. I was like, I figured maybe it got towed. Well, it didn't get towed, it got stolen. And so I ended up being in New York for like 2 weeks. And so I just was hanging out with those dudes. And but when I went to work in the skate industry, a lot of times Brian would come out and do stuff out there. And he was doing some board graphics and some different things at the time. I think he's still working for Disney, but this was the beginning of me trying to figure out the whole point of all those backstories is I was just making canvases for friends. And then I was trying to understand like how to paint, right? Like I didn't really consider myself a painter. I didn't know how to be an artist. So I was kind of putting these like, it was just kind of cheap Liquitex and paint markers and and from 84 to 86, you know, when I finished up high school. So I just have tons of these. I get like at secondhand stores for like 25 cents. And, you know, I'd use them and try to draw from them and stuff. And so when I saw Murakami's work, man, like that was the first time, like I really was like, I could picture how I was going to be an artist. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is exactly how I want to paint. This is what I want to do. And so I was like, fuck, how do I do this? And so I found a book that had an address for his Japan studio. And I was like, you know, I've already lived in Japan. I speak enough Japanese, and not anymore, but back then I certainly still did. And I was like, I'll just go live in Japan and do what I have to, right, to learn from this dude. Um, and they emailed me back and they're like, oh shit, we have a studio just up the street from you in Maspeth, you know. So they were like, come on by. So I came by and I started painting and hanging out. And I spoke enough Japanese that they were cool with me being there because, you know, everything's kind of, they're telling everybody what to do in Japanese. So, you know, you don't want to be the one person they got to retell everything to in English. So, but it was a great way to learn because the studio practice is so precise. Like that's where I learned to mix colors, like 2 Pantone swatches. I learned how to paint flat, sand things out, really.
For the first hour.
Hey,
Just
okay,
come on.
okay. Hey, okay. You know, I just wanted to let the legends speak. You know, but I've been a big fan of your work, Dalek, for a long time. Just to start off, yeah, like extremely long time.
Thanks.
As you can see, I know a couple things here and there. But yeah, no, it's just I'm doing good. I'm just in an Illustrator right now, actually. So
Nice.
getting some things going.
I will
Let's
say,
go.
man, as a fellow Illustrator user, and anyone else who uses Illustrator can chime in. Like, I get sick of the constant updates. Like I just get some things down, and then they go and change them on me. Like I hated when they took the Pantones out, and then they tried to make the Pantone thing a third party thing, and I could never figure out how to connect it in properly. So I just stopped using it. You know, or when they change like the stuff on the tracing, but just, you know, if Adobe's listening, like, can you just at least allow us to stay in the old version if we want? You know, give us something. But I don't like these constant updates. It's a real pain in the ass. I've been using Illustrator for 28 years now. So just calm down with the updates, please.
Yeah, I'm personally done with Adobe myself. Um, it's gotten just a little too much. Yeah, especially since they bought Substance. So yeah, it's a 3D version basically of Adobe softwares, and they're now going to be basically strong arming their way into all substance based stuff and doing the same stuff there, which is frustrating. I'm not a fan of the subscription. I miss the old days when you could just own it outright and just have
Still
it.
And
I
by the
mean,
way, I'm still. Oh, sorry, Ryan. Go.
oh no, I was gonna say, I mean, we were talking about being counterculture and punk and how everything was just permissionless and you just did it, and now we have this permissionless technology. You're talking about Adobe licenses, man. Like you used to Napster those licenses
up.
like back in the day and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's getting wild out there with the constant updates of Illustrator and all that, for sure.
It is. Yeah, I could never afford it, man. Like I totally bootlegged Illustrator and Photoshop for years. You know, so you know, you had to do. And of course, Quark and Streamline, for those who remember, that was always a fun process. Um, yeah, man. Look, that's part of the fun too, right? It's the evolution of anything, including your own life story, is what makes it fun, right? Is going back and remembering dealing with all these things and stumbling through things and discovering things and um, you know, man, just traveling around and crashing on couches and eating ramen. But I think that stuff is really an important part of, you know, making you what you are, man. Is just, you know, continuing to reach out. Like everything in my life is because I just reached out and asked people, you know, like, and I think that that's a good lesson in life, man, is just keep throwing yourself out there no matter what. And don't be afraid, because I'm always surprised. I don't know. Surprised isn't a good word, man, but I'm always appreciative of how cool people are, right? Like everything I've ever been involved with in my whole life, like I come in as a newbie and people are always doing everything they can to help teach me the ropes, you know? And so, you know, man, mentoring is important, which is why even working for Murakami, having an apprenticeship, right? Like it's good to just learn from other people, because it's just impossible, like Jeff said, to understand everything. But as you start fine tuning things, that stuff help, you know, it keeps giving you direction. You know, I always say I never intended on being an artist. It just kind of kept happening. And it kept happening because I just kept getting funneled in that direction, right? And so all the other stuff falls by the wayside, and your focus gets narrower and narrower, right? But you know, man, it's just that's part of that evolution of growing up and learning shit. But I again, it does come full circle when you look at all of those things that happened with those countercultures in the 80s and the 90s. It was just people doing stuff on their own, right? So it was all that DIY stuff. And I think that that's a big part of Web3. And, you know, Diego and I often talk about, you know, the potential for doing a video game is more real, because with Web3, you have all these independent developers and you know, game people and all these people that have skill sets that only had certain avenues for their skill sets. Now maybe they can go and build their own gaming company, right? Or develop their own protocol or whatever it may be. So I think it's the same spirit where people can find whatever it is they're into and kind of connect with people on their own. And because now you have this global network of people and the technologies there, it doesn't matter where in the world people are. So, you know, things keep getting easier like that. So we have hope that we can make a game one day, because, you know, the road should come to meet us. And again, that's always what I'm going to come back to. We got to make the Space Monkey game.
Yo, and I've been sending requests down there to you, Diego. Maybe you're driving, maybe you're doing something, you're not looking at the screen, but I'd love to hear from you to get you up here and get your take on it, because those animations are fire. And the fact that they're all hand done, that's a lot of work out there. And by the way, something new, something special that I wanted to do different for my show today. I want to highlight an artist in the space, Bill _ ION66. Bill _ ION66 has been doing incredible pixel art, incredible GMs. They're like coffee cups. They're wild. Jay, if you could go find him, that's at BILL _ ION66. And that's their Twitter account, X account, excuse me. Don't dead name up here. And if you could get a pinned post up there, the art is incredible. I just wanted to highlight one artist. No favoritism here. Just love that there. And I also want to do special happy birthday shout out to Skidley, our incredible audience member who has been an audience member. I think this is for like 70th episode. Skidley, we love you. Jump in my DM. I'll send you a care package because it's your 30th and you just had Father's Day chasing those crazy wombats. And also, you know, down under, I want to hear more about this thing about something about like chlamydia is going to make the wombats extinct. Thread Guy was talking about it on his space. That's the kind of stuff I want to talk about. So maybe we can get a wombat expert up here on the stage. By the way, Dalek, that cause story fucking blew my mind. I've just been absorbing it over here. I'm like, dude, people sit there and think, oh, these people got collabs or they have these relationships with people because their art's so much better than mine. I mean, sometimes it does come down to just a flat tire on the side of the road or your car getting entirely stolen, so you have to sleep on their couch. I mean, I even did the sleep on the couch thing for a month in New York City. I'm over here in the Appalachian Mountains now about to raise a family, so I feel you. But, you know, I love New York City because I felt like I was in the gravity chamber, you know, just doing two finger push-ups like Vegeta, which my hair kind of looks like now. But it's kind of going Krillin. Noctilic, You were going crazy there. What's going on, my guy? Love you,
What's
support
good?
you.
What's
And by
good?
the way, cause PFP. Crazy.
Forever, forever. Um, love the space, Boo. Oh my gosh, I feel like anyone who's an artist, and especially anyone who's participating in Web3 can go back to this and like learn so many gems. Dalek, you're like a fucking artist, Yoda. I think I first came across your stuff in 2004, 2005 when you did some stuff for serial art with skateboards and figurines, and I was like, what the hell is this? So to see you in this space is amazing these past 3-4 years, and I just love like what you said. I mean, I think the thing just in the space about how you were saying, the world around you is changing, and you need to change with it. I think like that's just like the perfect approach to everything, but also for Web3. I mean, like honestly, like I think it's a constant adaptation that's happening. So I would just like to give you like a field of flowers for what you've done. As a closet photographer, I also would love to see the shots that you took or that you have in your photography, because I don't think I've seen that side of your work ever. But yeah, all tons of love to you and what you do in the space. It's been fun. It's been fun seeing what you create here, and it's been fun participating and collecting.
I can see him on the stream. He's looking to unmute. He's looking to respond to you. If you're just tuning in, we are live on YouTube. We are live on StreamYard. We still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 spots available if you want to come show off your VTubing thing. Dalek, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear now. I think I got rugged for a minute. Just
RugRadio. Got to do that plug. Shout out RugRadio. Thanks, Dalek.
Yeah, buddy. So I didn't hear. Was he asking a question? I didn't hear anything.
He just came up here, and you know that scene at the end of like Metal Gear Solid 3 with all the flowers and Snake has to put down boss? Like he just like he ripped up that whole field and he threw it at you. He just was like, "Thank you for being here." He wants to see the photos, by the way. That was the question. Can we see some of these Stanley Kubrick style photos that you took when you were hanging out with these legends when your car got jacked?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I have the photos somewhere, but they're not photos of the people, man. It's graffiti photos. But yeah, I got tons of stuff from that day. Fortunately, I had my camera equipment on me and not in the back of the car when it got stolen. Um, but yeah, man, that was a pretty epic trip. So
Diego,
yeah,
welcome to the stage. Thanks for coming up here. I had to scream at you. Sorry. I really don't like doing that when people are down in the audience because you could be literally doing who knows what the hell. But we wanted to get you up here because, again, you got a field of flowers thrown at you, too.
Yo, thanks. Yeah, I
yeah,
was in and out of the room, but what's up? What's up, Taylor? What's up, everyone?
brother.
We were informed that you did this incredible animation one by one of these space monkeys up here. And we just, I wanted to ask you, like, how was it working with this guy? Was it tough? Was he just like constantly like, no, we needed to get it just right? Like, was it a joy?
No, it was, I've said it before, like, it's kind of exactly how he already described it. It's like ever since we started working on our first animation, which was before the pixelated stuff, there was just kind of like an understanding. We both have the same taste. We both like the same stuff. So the way I could execute, with already knowing his style, obviously, because I was a graffiti head in the 90s too. So I was already a big fan of his work and familiar with his work. And, when you, as an animator, because I am an animator that's what I do for life to get paid. Whenever you look at art, you think about how you would make it move and how it should move to you. So when I began working on the Space Monkey stuff, we just gelled. So luckily, there was never any real back and forth to get things right. It's just kind of like I kind of just took the character and began running with it, and just making sure, along the way that everything's going well and everything. But it's been it's a great way he's a great partner to work with on art in general, basically.
Yeah, brother. Feeling is mutual. And Diego again is unbelievably chill and one of the hardest working dudes. And again, man, I can't wait to show you what we're working on next, because that's the other thing, man. He takes it up. He doesn't take it up one notch, right? It's like I expect to see like a little. He took it up like 40 notches, man.
Yeah, you got to, man. And when you think about, yes, for Super Space Monkey World, I guess there was they're all one-of-ones. They're not generated because I'm an animator, and when you like to pay attention to detail, and you like to have full control over what is being created. If I press the button, I won't. There's something magical about that too when something's generated and something comes out for you. But I wanted to have control about for every piece that came out, but also I didn't want to fucking wrap my head around like how to work a generated thing and supply, like PNG sequences, in a way that they wouldn't fuck up when they were generated. Because from what I understand, there is a lot of like fixing once you have your generated artwork, put out there. Some work, some don't, blah blah blah. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do every single one, render it out myself. And when it comes to the next one, it's like, hell yeah, you think about, well, I think about Nintendo, Super Mario Brothers, when Super Nintendo put out Super Mario World, like that was a jump in graphics and in color and fun, So I just think about this project that we're working on is kind of the same thing. It's like I'm not gonna drop something that looks exactly the same as before. Like we are going to put out something that we're happy with and steps up basically and has the same feel of a sequel to a video game from back then. Still pixels, but we're going from like 8-bit to 16 or 32 or whatever.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And by the way, if you go and look at Diego's profile, not only did Diego make all the art for the project, but the teaser trailers, which are all rip-offs, or not rip-offs, but takeoffs on old video game ads where you put the Super Space Monkey World stuff in it. Unbelievable, man. Super fun.
Yeah. Just remixed old commercials. Got our own music, which was just went on Fiverr or whatever, just like found someone who could make music, and just remixed them.
Yeah, they're just fun, man, and that's the thing, right? It's like it goes back again. Everything was new and fun, and you couldn't wait for something. You had to wait for something to come out. When it did come out, you were so amped. I remember anytime I wanted to get a new cartridge, right? You got to wait like 6 months for the game to come out, and then when it comes out, you like can't wait to get it, and you play for 6 months straight.
Oh yeah, it was an event. You read about it in magazines before it came out. EGM or GamePro or whatever. You're looking at it. You're like, holy shit! Like in a year or something, in 6 months, I'm gonna have this.
Yeah. So it's there is so much to be said for it, and again, we will get the game made. It is our goal, because you have to. Who doesn't want to play this on their phone all the time? It's better than any mobile game I've ever seen.
No, it looks super dope. Go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was going to say, no doubt. It looks incredible. And, I think a lot of us have nostalgia for that generation of gaming, right? You talked about, Super Mario Brothers 3 to Super Mario World, like, what an incredible leap, but also just, both games represented so much of, like, so many people's childhoods and things like that. But I saw something, and it reminded me on your profile. Ghost Club. So I just wanted to shout out Ghost Club
Yeah,
while y'all were up here, and because it's a great Web3 artist community,
it is.
collaborative kind of new studio, and so just wanted to shout out Mumbot and all the Ghost Club fam, and kind of maybe y'all got anything to say about how y'all got wrapped up with them here in Web3 and stuff like that.
It was Mumbot. Sorry, go ahead, man.
No, it was Mamba. Funny enough, man, like, I told you, Lurk was the one that connected Diego and I, and he's the one who kind of got me into Clubhouse. And that was that first group he kind of connected me with was, like Sam Pearson and Pop Wonder and Mumbot and Brian Morris. I'm trying to think who else was in there, man. Brian Romero. It's a ton of people, but it was a cool little group because everyone was helping everybody out. And then everybody was on Heket Noon trading art with each other. And so I was in a clubhouse, and I forget what it was. And Mumbot came up and was talking about artists in Thailand. And my boy Chip, who's from Jersey, but he's half Thai and he lives over in Bangkok. I was like, oh shit, Chip lives over in Bangkok. And she's like, I know Chip. And so we started talking, and then we realized we had all these friends in common, and then, started swapping artwork and talking. But that was super early on. And then, Mumbot and her husband, Defiant, have created all this, and unbelievable what they've done. It's such a great resource because, again, it's easy to get lost in Web3. So, it's a great resource for artists in a collective to kind of gather and learn, but also for people to come in and discover a lot of great artists. But, as you know, man, Mumbot's one of the hardest working people in the business. She's crazy. She works nonstop, hustles nonstop, just an amazing person, as is Defiant and pretty much everybody in that group. So, yeah, unbelievable group. Stoked to be a part of it. And, I think they're positioned to just keep crushing it.
I think Jay and I would agree. We love Mumbot. Shout out Mumbot. We love you. We've known her for a couple of years. We got to get her on the show. But, I think if Jeff was back here, he would agree with me. It's kind of like, it's like, I don't know. It's like such a good friend, I would be interviewing. It's interesting how collaborations work out. So it's like kind of like if I had my mom on here and I was just like, so mom, you want to tell them about that time your chocolate chip cookies got in the newspaper? You know what I mean? It's just like, do what you want to do, right? But we do got to get Mumbot up here, and I got to get another co-host with me to do that. Skip, how are you doing today? What's good?
Hey, what it do, boo? Appreciate you bringing me up here with these legends, man. That's love, man. I really do appreciate you bringing me up. We got Ryan up here, Dalek in the building, Diego in the building, JPEG J in the building. Was that Jeff Stapleton I was hearing? Oh me, oh my. I know he ain't here right now, but special big ups to him and what he's got working with Dirty Robot right now. Like, so stoked on that collab and what's gonna come from that. So stoked that that's why I'm here. You know what I mean? Like that relationship with Dirty Robot and Ryan being over there talking with the Renga crew. That's why I'm here. So man, special big ups to you, Ryan, and cooking up that collab and Jeff Stapleton, man. Like there's so much beautiful, beautiful projects going on right now. Like these space monkeys, I don't know anything about them, but I'm about to know about them. I'll tell you that. I tell you that, Dalek, that story you were just telling about going through the muck, going through the mud, man, that's what it's all about, yo. When your back gets up, when your back gets up against the wall, and all you got is your love, right? And that's what gets you through your love, and your connections with that love. So, man, special big ups to y'all. Appreciate you bringing me up. I'm just packing up the truck right now, picking up one of my buddies. I'm getting off the mountain finally. I've been working for like 2 months, 20 hours a day straight. And I'm about to go camp and have me some fun, jump some waterfalls, go throw pole, all that. So I'm stoked I was able to come here and say what it do.
Yo, and I learned something real quick. Skip, I learned that aloha means hi and goodbye at the same time, right?
Yeah, essentially, it's more of an energy, right? Like you can say aloha is more just a greeting, right? Like it's just more what you're saying and how you're saying it. Like if somebody does something good for you at the same time, like, you know what I mean? Someone shows you love, like, bro, that's aloha. You know what I mean? Like you open up a conversation with aloha, so then you're starting it off on a wonderful note. And then by you and whatever conversation or whatever you're doing, you're reclosing it with that aloha. Like, man, what we just...
Aloha, that's what that moped said when it went in and out. You know what I'm saying? I
letting that
love
rip.
that. Yo, let it rip. I can't wait to come down there and visit you, man. I haven't hit the islands yet, and I need to. I got a scuba diving license, and they say you'll see stuff that you won't see anywhere on planet Earth. I only got one life, so I got to get over on that plane. Dalek, have you been to Hawaii?
Yeah, I lived in Hawaii.
Okay, humble.
Oh,
Stay
yeah?
humble now, Dalek. Dalek, stay humble. Okay.
What island you stay?
Well, I finished up high school in Japan, and then we moved. My dad was stationed at Pearl Harbor, so I was on Oahu. But
Oh,
I
sick, man.
traveled around, went to the other islands a bit, but I stayed mostly, you know, mostly I went to Leeward Community College for a minute, stayed around Pearl City, that area with, you know, every once in a while go up to Hawaii Kai, skate wallows. But
That's sick. I've never been to Oahu. I stay in Maui.
okay,
But I do have, man, Boo, Dalek, anyone in here. I stay on the mountain, but my family, they got a house that's on the beach that's always open. So if anyone needs a place to come, all you need is a ticket out here, and I got a place for you with a car there, with surfboards there, with longboards there, with a computer there, everything you need. I got you. All you need is a plane ticket.
nice.
So go off, baby. You had your hand too long.
Hey. Is it going to be a pixel art game then? Is that the intention? And a
Yeah,
phone like mobile game?
yeah. The intention would
Oh
be
yeah.
it's definitely pixel art, and ideally to make something that can be played on mobile as well as desktop,
Very
laptop.
cool.
Um,
Dope.
yeah.
Dope. Dope.
So
Dope.
we're
Dope. Love it.
trying to find the right dev. So hopefully we'll find the right person someday to jump in with us.
Yo, when you said Pepe earlier, your like right lip quivered a little. What's with your thing? What's with your dealing Pepe, man?
My right lip quivered. Was
We like if you guys go back and listen to it, like seriously, call him, fact check me when he said Pepe. He says like Pepe. Is that what brought you into Web3? Was Pepe?
No, man, I didn't. The funny thing is, all I knew about Pepe was what most people know on the fringe, right? Was I knew it when it became this, weird 4chan alt right kind of thing. Like, that's the first time it crossed like any part of my peripheral life. And I didn't know much more about it. I didn't really care. It wasn't, pertinent. I didn't see it any. Well, so then when I got into Web3, I started noticing it. And then so again is crucial. And I don't think Tunny and Joe are here, but Diego knows. Um, so when I got into Web3 again, I knew nothing and I wanted it that way. I didn't invite my followers from Instagram to come. I wanted it to be all fresh, meet new people, learn it from the ground up. So I met, I'm trying to think who I met first. So Dust Monkey, that's what it was. Dust Monkey reached out about doing a project. And it was just art on his 3D character. And so I did it. Super fun. Went in his Discord. I had no clue what Discord was. And that's where I first met Tunny and Joe, which are they're twin brothers from Denmark. And then someone mentioned to me that I should make a Discord. This is probably like in August of 21. And I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck this Discord thing is. I don't understand how it works. So Bach said she helped me set it up. She showed me how to set it up. And then Tunny and Joe basically came in and were like, look, we got you. We'll be your admins. And so they started running it. Well, I didn't understand meme culture, any of that stuff. It just was all new to me. And so they're all into that. I got a crash course. And so I think through that and understanding the Pepe culture in this space and understanding meme culture in this space and then meeting so many people through that and funny enough, man, people who are a lot of OG graffiti heads in that space. Like when I connected with Skrilla, it's like I didn't realize, these dudes are old hip hop dudes, they're old graph dudes and they come from that culture. And so I really started to, I told you earlier, man, like, community and understanding and having these spaces, but I started to realize how much I love the culture of that, and all the people involved in it. And I think too, because it's so much fun and I really wanted to keep things light in Web3. I didn't want to come in and be some serious person and take it seriously because I think that's counterproductive to understanding anything is cutting yourself off, right? So, I wanted to stay open to it, embrace it and kind of learn from it, man. And even learning to make a meme, or learning to make like like I ended up doing a fake rare card, or doing other things through those communities and culture, and branching out and trying, like making my first gifts, or as you can see, Pepe, which is like I started doodling Pepe and just kind of turned it into that character. And then I still haven't had the time to really fully keep evolving it and playing with it. I need to come back to it, but um, I just think it's just an interesting community and culture, man. I think it's absolutely central to Web3, and so if you go to my collection now, you can see that I'm heavily into fake rares and notables, and um, a lot of it I got on the Ethereum side, but I do have quite a bit, and I learned XCP and how to use free wallet, and I think that was important too, because it feels so 90s AOL that I'm like, this is great, because you guys, it's so manual, like to buy something on XCP, and so I felt like I learned something, and even when I learned things that are probably really remedial for most people in the space, I'm very proud of myself, because I'm older, and I'm still learning. Um, but yeah, man, I just gravitated towards it. There's no rhyme or reason other than it's fun. I love the art. I mean, as you know, there's a million great artists involved with Rare Pepe and Fake Rare, and um, so I like going to the events. I'm going to go down to Beeple's event in August. That sounds like it'll be a lot of fun. But I think that anything that, again, culture and community is important, right? You said it with Artifact, or and again, some discords get toxic, right, when the project goes the wrong way. Um, some projects, completely fold in or go, but the Pepe culture in the space is old. A lot of those dudes understand Web3 and crypto in ways like I've learned a lot. Like Robot Loves Coffee, that dude knows a fuck ton. So when he talks, I really try to listen, because anything, you should always understand the history of anything you're involved in, right? If you don't understand the history and the culture of something you're involved in, then you don't really get it. Um, and so to me, the Pepe artists and the rare Pepe artists, like they're the origins of Web3 and digital art culture. Um, More so than punks. I don't think crypto punks embodies Web3 culture at all. I think that's a weird fad, because I don't, even though the people who own them, a lot of them are OGs, it's just not the same. I don't think there's the same culture around it when you really go back and look at Pepe culture. And it is original Bitcoin NFTs. And again, I didn't know much about the Bitcoin network. So again, understanding more about it other than it's just digital gold, um, I think is important, right? So understanding the history of Bitcoin and those that were building on it and doing things with it far before I even understood what it was. Um, so that's all. So it was a lot, because there's so much history to it. It was really easy to get into, because there's a long history with Pepe and Matt Fury. That Matt Fury documentary was really great. Um, and again, it's interesting how he created something and then it just took on a life of its own. I mean, an incredible life of its own that went far beyond anything, right? So, there's something interesting just in that. Like when you create something and then it gets adopted by the world and takes on all these different life forms that you can't control. So that's got to be interesting. But yeah, man,
So,
I think that's it.
so this brings up an interesting point for me with like the current focus on meme coin season and celebrities kind of trying to create their own memes and get those to take off, and people even betting on culture, right? That's kind of what it is. You're taking a
Right.
future out on something becoming viral almost and trying to make something out of it. And there's really good arguments that that's almost like the heart of some of permissionless culture and what blockchain's all about. But you also said something there that you have to learn in the space. You have to participate in communities. I think one difference between some of the Pepe culture and some of the artists you mentioned were they created fake rare cards. They bought other collections. They got into Ghost Club or something like that and collaborated with other artists. Versus, some of these people on meme culture right now are just launching a coin and trying to be extractive. So just wanted to get kind of that out there because I think there's different ways of participating in meme culture. Meme culture itself is not good, bad, one way or the other, but I think it's certainly a salient point to kind of talk about and think about today.
Yeah, and look, I think to an extent, even like, I mess with meme coins and things like that. Like, I agree, the extractive stuff's the extractive stuff, right? When people are clearly exploitative, right? But then look at Bohm, right? Look at what Dark Farms has done with that, right? Or, Mog or some of these others where they do become part of a culture, right? And there is more to it. Again, it's speculative, but, you know, I think Jeff was talking earlier about rugs, like with the music industry and everything. Like everything's speculative, right? Like you buy a print or a T-shirt or a this or that. If you expect to extract any secondary value out of it, it's speculative, right? Stock market, it doesn't matter. So, I think ultimately, understanding, meme coins and that aspect of culture and not being afraid, right? I think one thing I found, and this goes back to punk and skating, um, and even graffiti, man, like, because I remember, um, when I started doing characters, no one was really doing characters at that time. I mean, there were b-boy characters that people were doing in the 80s, but, they were more of the sideshow, right? And so, I think ultimately when I landed on, like, I don't have anything to contribute as, with letters, right? Like, and I really was, drawn towards throw ups because, again, the whole concept of a throw up of being kind of this sticker, right? It's quick, it's easy, it's recognizable. Um, and I'm like, well, that's what I want to do. And so if you look at some of the origins of Space Monkey, like, it was meant to be simple shapes for a reason and easily identifiable for a reason, right? So, it kind of came from that throw up idea and the fact that you could turn it into a sticker, something that was easily recognizable. And, um, that's one thing, it's a funny story. But so when I went to VCU, I started VCU in '88. Um, and Shepard and I talked about this later. And, I don't know if you guys know. Do you know who Andy Howell is? Andy Howell's like an OG skater. He's from Virginia Beach. But so Andy went to RISD at the same time Shepard did. And Andy's sister went to VCU at the same time I did. So all of a sudden, I think it was probably like 89 or 90, I started seeing those obey stickers, right? It was just the Andre the Giant, 7'4", 5'10", whatever it was. Well, I grew up watching wrestling, so, I loved Andre the Giant and a lot of those wrestlers. And I just remember being like, oh shit, this is cool. And that was, 4 or 5 years before I met Shepard. And I started seeing the stickers around in different places as I would travel. And so when I met Shepard, it was interesting to hear what he was talking about because it's the same premise as graffiti, right? Like you're there to put your mark, something that's recognizable. So full blown productions and pieces to me didn't seem something recognizable, right? So I wanted to do a character, and I gravitated towards characters anyways. It's always what I doodled, but it became this thing where it's like, well, you got to do letters. Like people kept telling me I had to do letters, and I was like, why are there rules? Why the fuck do I have to do letters? Right? Like when I was into punk, people were like, well, if you're into punk, you can't listen to metal. Or if you ride a skateboard, you can't be into BMX. Or if you're into this, you can't be into that. And so it's all this weird shit where I'm like, why you keep the whole point of subculture and all these things is to have freedom and to discover, not to impose your own rules on it. Right. And so you find it funny when you have to go counterculture of counterculture because it's like they're trying to make some fucking stupid rules. So, it's the same premise, man. It's there's just people come in and they want to make rules. And the rule of, oh, well, you can't like this aspect of Web3, or you have to only post this, or you can't discuss that. Like, again, I find it interesting little things, like even on Twitter. Like, I like Warpcast. I've had fun with it. I try to tell people to get on it, and they're just, they don't want to get on it. It's too much work.
Yo,
Guys.
follow me. Follow me back. I've been GMing you for like 5 days. I'm shooting my shot. I have it right here, by the way.
What are you
Farcast, go on.
talking about on Warpcast?
Yeah.
I don't see you on there.
See, Huddle, dude, I suck on there. Y'all, I suck.
Look,
See, he
I'll
just
go
told me I suck.
He's
Damn.
done.
Yeah, I still know how to use that one.
Dude,
No,
I'm sucking on there, y'all. Like literally Huddle in the chat, by the way. By the way, send him a kiss. He fell down last night. That's why he's a human, y'all. If he was a robot, he would still have skin on his face. I love you for that, Huddle. But anyway, dude, he's holding my hand daily with that shit.
Yeah, but
you talk about learning a tech, bro. He's sending me like, go to the top right corner, click this, go down. I mean, I'm dumb, bro.
First of all, I'm going to give Huddle some love right now because Denim makes some ridiculously good coffee, and you know how pumped I was to have my own coffee. Like that's up there with video games. Like to have your own a bag of coffee with your own art on it is greater than anything else in the world, probably other than the birth of my children. Right? Like I probably drink more coffee than I should, but that's it's fun, and of course they do. I mean, I love what he's done with Denim, man. There's so many, he works with so many great artists, and it really is great coffee. So, but yeah, man, I love that he's deep in the space and doing stuff. But the point was, again, it's resistance, man. Like people who come into spaces and then they're instantly resistant to any change, and it's just odd. Like you're in a space that's going to morph on the daily. Like it's going to change like at light speed. Like you cannot hang on to it has to be like this or it has to be like that. Like because that's just not the way it's going to be. Like I like Twitter, but Twitter has a lot of really bad things about it, right? Like, and it doesn't mean that Warpcast won't go that route, but right now it's cleaner. I like that there's channels. I can filter things better. My feed looks nicer. Everyone's more positive. Um, but it's just why not try it out? If you don't like it, you don't like it, right? There's plenty of things in Web3 I try for like a day. Like I tried that friend tech shit. And I was like, this is stupid, right? So some of it makes sense and some of it doesn't. And again, what makes sense for me isn't what makes sense for you. So, but the only thing to do is the old fuck around and find out, right? And then, going back to what Jeff was saying in the drip and the fire hose is you just got to keep filtering out the noise and understand what really resonates with you and what works. But you're not going to know if you don't try, right? So when you start putting rules on things and you're restricting people, it's counterproductive, right? Like, so I love fucking around with meme coins and doing weird shit. And sometimes I flip stuff, sometimes I don't. But I try everything because it's just fun to mess around and try stuff. And I just think it's an important part of the process is just dabble in all the different corners and see what works and what doesn't. And maybe something won't make sense to you today, but it might in 6 months. But if you don't start kind of greasing the wheels a little bit, then you're not going to know. So I tell people, like I had a lot of Web2 artist friends that, of course, when the bull market was running and you could make money in a minute, they were flooding in there. I was getting calls all day, every day. How do I get in on this? How do I get in on it? How do I? And then as soon as it slowed up, they left. And they were only here to try to turn a buck. And I'm like, you're missing the point. Like if your only point is to come in and extract, then you're not learning the space. And if you're not learning the space, then you're missing out on the whole point of the space. And you're also, it's like when they give you those like what is it on Cosmos when he's standing on like one day and it's like there's been trillions and trillions of years before that. That's where we are, man. You're like in a micro, second of a billionth of years away. We're just at the fraction of the start of this thing. So why would you want to come in and get out? Like I want to try to absorb what I can. And again, you can't do that if you restrict yourself to one lane. You really do have to do your best. And look, if celebrities are going to come into space and launch meme coins, that's what they're going to do. And I don't always necessarily agree with every voice and opinion in the space, but I follow a lot of people I don't even like. because I think it's important to understand their point of view, because they're just coming from a completely different angle than me. And I can't go, well, because this is how I feel about it, that everybody else's opinion on the matter is irrelevant, right? And I have to learn for myself, like, they have valid points or they don't. They're doing something that may not resonate or work for me, but I get the value in it, right? So I think that's important too. Um, you have to be open to do that. You can't be cutting people off and getting worried about shit.
Ooh, watch those bridges, baby. Don't burn them all the way down. There's some history out there that rhymes about that if you burn those bridges. And by the way, I've said this too before. Sometimes I've seen the party going on across the river and I'm looking at that bridge sitting there wasted and I'm like, fuck. Fuck. And everybody's like, yeah, Bo, we're over it. Boo, we're over there. We're doing it. We're having a good time. And I'm like, yeah, well, that bridge is burned for me. Take some photos for me, y'all. But yeah, so you never know who grows up. You never know who you rub elbows with. Literally, this dude brought me on this year for his company. I fixed it up. Then MF fired me in like 3 weeks, guys, after I like got his shit all right. But I live in such a close area. Who knows, one day his wife could be delivering my wife's baby. You never know. Like, keep things a certain, and what Dalek just said about, I follow people in this space I don't even like. Damn, y'all. Same here. Same
Yeah.
here. Keep your enemies close,
Well, look, they're not even enemies, right? It's again, just because I don't understand you and your point of view doesn't make your point of view not important or valuable, right? Just again, man, this goes back as long as I can remember with anything, man. People want to get caught up in isms, man. It's not that simple, right? Like, nothing's that black and white. And if you discount someone because of a singular point of view they have, then you're missing the point, right? And you're missing out on a lot of good shit. Some people just don't know, right? Like, a lot of people I came into space, they don't know I've been doing this for 30 some years. And I'm not going to be like, what the fuck? You didn't know. It's again, that's not what it's about, right? Like, you don't know things until you know things. And sometimes it takes a while for people to learn things, understand things, find the right people to teach them things. Everything is just this giant organism that moves, man. And so again, there's no point in cutting things out unless they're truly toxic, which there's plenty of truly toxic stuff out there, people with agendas that clearly have agendas. And that stuff is so blatant, to just cut it out and get rid of it. But I do find it interesting, man, to again, like, I try to listen to my kids. I don't always, it's not a one-way street where I'm like, I'm the adult, you're the child. They see the world and they're experiencing things that I'm not. They don't even know, they don't care about Web3 culture. I talk to them about it. They're like, I don't give a shit. Like, so it's not even like it's a young person, old person thing. It's like they're into what they're into. But when they are engaged and they're excited about something and they share it, like, I listen, because I'm like, okay, this is clearly something that's interesting to them. Or if I'm like, I don't know who this person is. Who is this person? Because you know how things will cross your brain at 30,000 feet. Like, you'll hear a word and then you hear it again, or a name, and then you're like, okay, if I hear it 3 times, I got to ask what something is or look it up, right? So, and then you find, again, through trusted people, then I know, okay, I can trust this person. If they're talking about this coin or this project or this or that, I know them, I'm solid. But you have to build those relationships and that trust over time. And you can only do that by throwing yourself in the mix, man. So, you know,
Yeah. I think one thing you said there too is you said sometimes, you'll hear something or you'll process something, you'll learn about something, and then 6 months later you'll come back to it and it's like either taking off again or it clicks in your brain and you now know how to take that particular concept and apply it to your own kind of body of work or how you're going to maybe, think about meme coins related to DALEKSpaceMonky's character and, like leverage that type of kind of viral go to market technology and things like that. And I think it's why we see so many new technologies, whether it be R6 or ordinals or, some of the things that have come out in this cycle do that. There's a lot of hype, a lot of initial interest, curiosity, people learning about it. And then it dies down for about 6 months and then it comes roaring back, right? And it's because it takes that time for people to figure out how to apply that curiosity to their own work and their own path and, you know, their own evolution.
Well, look, and ordinals is a perfect example, right? Like, you know, I heard about them, and then I got connected with Prism and you know, those people, and why am I forgetting what the name of their thing is? Counterfeit, right? Counterfeit culture. Um, and look, man, it's the same thing. Like, I didn't really know him, but I was like, "Do you mind getting on the phone and explaining this to me?" And so he's explaining it, and it's like I didn't really know what satoshis were. I certainly didn't know that there were all these different types. I didn't understand. You know, I understood on chain because when we did Neogen Space Monkeys, even though you know those dudes ended up rugging people, but you know, the idea of something being on chain makes sense, right? Like actually being inscribed onto the blockchain, like makes perfect sense as a technology. I get it's expensive, but it is forever, right? And again, I do think provenance matters in this space as much as anywhere else, right? So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. How can I apply it? But I wanted to learn about it. And he took the time. He got on the phone with me for hours. Then I had questions, and he called me back, and he's helped me. And him and Boozy have both been great with helping me with stuff and teaching me. And that's what I think is important, right? Like they don't know me, but they're taking the time and they're trying to help onboard people and teach people. And then if I understand it well enough, then I can teach somebody else. But I like the idea of it, and I don't think it's going anywhere. So I stay involved with it, and I keep moving with it. Doesn't mean I'm buying ordinals every other day. I can't afford to, but um, I think the technology is valuable, and I think it'll continue to you know grow. You
I
know,
wish I could buy ordinals every day. I'm loving ordinals. I don't care what anybody says. You know, no financial advice, DYOR. Honestly, you should just DCA into Bitcoin. We're out here being degens. I'm going to look back on it and be like, fuck, people were laughing at the pizza guy. I'm going to be laughing at myself regarding that. All right. We've gone 2 hours here. Hold on. Let's hold on here. I'm going to bring it all back in. We've gone 2 hours, all that. I love everybody that's come up in the space. We focus this entire space on DALEKSpaceMonky. And I want to, if I could, bring a cherry on top. You know, people claim to be the skaters of Web3, the skaters of the internet. Dalek, is it true that you have a piece of your art in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2?
it is.
Bro, that's fucking beat the chest, guys. Like, I mean, seriously, Tony Hawk Pro
That's
Skater
crazy.
2, like
That's
that shit's
fire.
playing the dividends, baby. If you just say that anywhere, people know what's up. I go to my skaters' house over here, young guys. They've let me into their group. Bless them. Shout out to them. I won't dox them, but they got Tony Hawk signed skateboard on the wall. Tony's a legend. When I saw Tony land the 900, I swear it was like the first time I understood blockchain technology. I ran out and I immediately had to understand what skateboarding was. I got a CCS in the mail. Oh, it was kind of like a marketplace, right? I started buying stuff I wanted. I made sure I had that fire hoodie for the fall. So I looked prepped and ready. And I sat there for, I think, 3.5 months trying to learn how just to ollie. And I finally did it. I did it at my aunt's house. Loved it. And then ever since then, dude, I still can skate the game. I can go do the double flip, inward heel flip. I can do it. I can skate, y'all. I ain't a poser. And going back to what Dalek said up here, fuck posers, baby. I feel you. Honestly, you know, people got opinions all day, and sometimes our opinions influence people, but that's why we get to have this comfortable space up here where we can say, hey, I didn't like that platform. Hey, I didn't really like that art, but not to the point where I'm going down there and literally pulling their shutters down. Like if my neighbor puts up some shutters that I don't like and they're ugly, I'm not going to walk in their house and rip their shutters down. They're the one that has to live with that shutter, you know? And then maybe later on, your neighbor starts, you know, matching things that are kind of like you. Because guess what? Maybe you're a trendsetter. Maybe you're a tastemaker. Maybe you're a style maker, you know? So yeah, I just wanted to bring that with the Tony Hawk thing there. It's incredible that we've gone 2 hours with you. I want to go 3 hours, but I want to change the subject here. I want to
Hold
focus
on.
back onto what
Hold
Ryan,
on,
go.
Boo. We can't talk about Tony Hawk 900s without talking about the awesome stuff that happened today. I don't know, or I think it was yesterday. This
Yesterday.
9-year-old kid just did 3 back-to-back
No,
900s. He's
okay.
the only one to pull it off at the vert ever. It was incredible. Tony Hawk was watching. So yeah, it was just, if you're into
Well,
skate culture, that was a pretty dope moment of that kid yesterday.
Yeah,
my
it was amazing. I love that. Thank you, Ryan, for pointing that out.
my laptop's gonna die, which means the video portion will probably disappear here in a few minutes. So just a heads up there.
We appreciate that. We appreciate that heads up, that professionalism. You were on time. You were beyond punctual.
Yep.
Again, just like guys, I don't think it's necessarily about how many people you have in your spaces every day, how many people are following you. It's about genuine build. Today I noticed on our YouTube account, Web3 with Boo, the account on stage right now. Give it a follow, give it a like, blah blah blah. But on our YouTube account, we got videos. Guess what? Today we're gonna have 29. So gosh, I hope I get one more subscriber, right? But again, I'm not trying to throw it down your throat. We are all in a group chat with somebody that is sharing a link every other day that's getting 0 for me. Haha, that's my brag there. But I want to change it up here. Yes, Tony Hawk 2 is a legend. Maybe we can get Tony Hawk on here. I know people. I don't think I'm ready yet, y'all. I'm not ready for Tony. Soon, maybe one day. I got people, but maybe one day. Anyway, I want to change it up. Tech, okay? We're learning about Warpcaster, Farcaster. Please, Daily, give me a like. Please give me some DGen, even if it's just one. I'm
Yeah,
struggling
but
over there. I need something. And I was over there. I had the hat on and everything, and I just gave up on it, I guess.
you don't give up. But yeah, put some because I swear I haven't seen you. If I would, I'd obviously follow you.
I'm gonna tag you, and I'm gonna just do it like 30 tags in there. And then I also want to change it up here to like, Ryan Smith, you've done an incredible job co-hosting this with me, and I want you to point out what you've been doing over there with Stapleverse and what Ranga is working on here. And I would love to open up that conversation. I don't know, maybe just collab. Collab has been the conversation of the day. Like you were talking about hanging out with Cause earlier. I like to bring up the example of everybody was in the space talking about Nina Chanel and CryptoPunks and wah, 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 and all this stuff. We want Cause. Guess what, MFers? Maybe she's friends with Cause, and she told him this experience. He's like, well, fuck that. I mean, look, he was letting people come up and hang out with him and all this stuff, and everybody was just bonding and vibing. That's where it's about, giving people a little trust and seeing where they go. It's like that person that comes over to your house for a party. They drink all of your beer, eat all of your chips, and they don't even say hello to like your mother or pet your dog. You don't invite that person back. You know what I'm saying? Just take that hint there. So
Well,
yeah, I wanted to focus that on you, Ryan. Sorry to put you on the spot there. And maybe more collaboration in the future. You know what I'm saying? I don't see anything wrong with artists working with each other. And God, please don't be all on one chain. Be chain agnostic. It's just like when you're wearing your fucking Nike shirt with your Adidas shoes. Yes, you've done it. I know who you
Oh.
are. I'm pointing at
Hmm.
all of you, every one of you
Hmm.
in the mirror.
No, Boo. That's just, I mean, I get being chain agnostic, but you don't wear 3 stripes with the swoosh. That's a mortal sin we're gonna deal with here. But no, I think collaboration's incredibly important, and I want to echo something Dalek said earlier. Shoot your shot, send the DM. Like, it's incredible how nice and welcoming most people are, and Dirty Robot was the same way. I shot him a DM, said, "Hey, I really respect your art. Here's some ways I've been following you," and we just started talking, and then introduced to Jeff, and their history of great artists and great streetwear came together to create this beautiful one-on-one digital art piece that is claimable for a print for all the collectors of it. But also we're doing a collaboration with Golden Bear, who just makes the most outstanding varsity jackets in the space. And we are going to reward 21 collectors with Golden Bear physical jackets. So, entire collaborative experience has been incredible. I think working with other artists opens up all sorts of avenues. And, I think the special thing about collaboration is you're almost learning by analogy, right? And I think when you enter a totally different field, we're kind of in the same space, but let's say you go work with somebody who plays sports for a living, or, you go work with somebody who, does shoe customization or something. There's a lot of similarities in like how they work, how they think about the creative process. It's just different underlying technologies or things like that. And I think when those things come to light, super dope, special stuff happens. And, can't say enough about the Ranga fan, the Ranga team, what Dirty Robots put together there with the artist retelling and Ranga. But it's been a super honor to work with Dirty Robot or any artist in the space. Hopefully we get to work with Dalek. Was excited that Jeff and him got to meet today. I think some super dope stuff will come out of that for sure. But yeah, that's what I would say there.
Take it in and absorb it. Okay, swish it around. Look at the tannins. Watch the lines, the tannins and the lines. Right, we're getting culture today. Soul, go off, baby. What's up? Soul, you've been incredible. You're just like raising your hand, being polite today.
Oh, am I not normally polite, boo?
No, you always are. See, don't
kidding.
think inward, think outward.
But yeah, no. I just wanted to say, Dalek, have you ever heard of 3.js or React 3 Fiber? As far as like the spatial web or a framework, it's a little obsession of mine. It's basically like being able to have spatial websites. So instead of them being 2D, they are spatial. You can go into the website. It's really cool.
No, I've never heard of that. That's crazy.
Oh, it's really cool. The developer who created, his name is Mr. Doobie. He goes by Mr. Doobie. Also one of the things that made me love it too. He's a legend, honestly, in my opinion. But if you ever do get a chance, the website for 3.js is just basically example websites of some of the creations that have been made with it and that technology. And to me, it is. I saw it as a retention of attention, actually, when I first came across it, because of how hard it is for people to maintain their attention on the web and actually keep eyes on a website for, let's say, more than 30 seconds. People get bored. When I first came across it a few years ago, that was just the word that I came away with from that, was like, honestly, retain. Like, I spent then hours just obsessing over some of these websites and just being blown away by some of the creations and just it being on the web. And the cool thing is it can be really well built. So with React 3.js, basically React framework built on top of that, it can then be really well built for the phone as well, mobile and web. So it's just as far as a possible little in between, because like building with like Unity and Unreal is like a full on system. But for like in between time, I could just see it being a good way to get SpaceMonky started. And then all the assets would be very upgradable to like when you went to, let's say, Unity or Unreal or bigger, just like a mobile phone app.
Okay.
Just something to look into.
No, it's cool, man. I'll definitely check it out.
Shooting your shot. You got to take the advice from the guests right up on stage. You know what I mean? Wouldn't it be weird if you were like, you got to shoot your shot in Web3, and then the guest was like, no.
and Joe are in here, man. So you got to give Tiny Turbo and Handsome Joe some love. These dudes are true legends. I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am in my Web3 journey without these dudes. So.
Well, awesome. If they definitely want to hop up on stage, we'll have them say a few words.
It's late for them, man. It's like 6-7 hours later over there. So, they're staying up late, and I know they were watching some soccer shit.
There you go.
So, I didn't see
anybody and everybody's
the soccer
welcome.
matches
You know what I'm saying?
today.
Come on up if you want to come up. I see so many legends in the space.
I do hope the Celtics
so
can
many
close
plugs
out
to
the
plug
Mavs tonight, though. I will tell you that. I'm ready for this to be over.
Oh, well, as a person who lives in Dallas, Texas, we'll hope that doesn't happen, and we'll see you in Game 6. But no, I mean, it's been a great series, and we'll see what happens for sure.
Can you guys hear me, or did I get rugged?
We can hear you.
Did I get rugged? Am I rugged?
I hear you, Boo.
Oh, good, good, good. Anyway, shout out Rug Radio, shout out Wallet Guard. You know, like Soul that offered that advice. If you're doing stuff with that with people, again, be safe. Okay, be careful about clicking on links. Sorry, Soul, I'm not shooting down your shot.
Oh no,
I'm
100%,
I'm
100%.
securing your
No,
shot. You know.
100%, 100%. Yeah, no, it's better. It'd be better to go through just like the framework or like even the GitHub or something, or just find Mr. Doobie and just see like his actual GitHub repo and be like, oh damn, this man's a real man with big brains.
Yeah, always double check stuff. I mean, we just had the beautiful Animus incubation with Artifact, and we got to learn about delegating wallets. And I mean, I must have checked that contract that I delegated at least 300 times because I was like, I am not about to lose 2 years of my. I look at it like I mean, it's my life, right? Like I put 2 years of my life. I'm not about to use 2 years of my life on a gamble just for something because it is all gamble. So I was definitely careful. So definitely download Wallet Guard. The soft lock mechanism is on there is incredible. You just soft lock your assets, every single one of them, and then if you want to just open up one asset to use token proof or whatever you want to do with that asset, you can just unlock it. You know what I mean? And get that going there. I'm telling you guys, I think this space has been a Class A example of how group projects for college and uni should work because we learned a lot about the and the, right, and how certain things are pronounced differently and how to open up your mind to that and just how like people will give you a different perspective on that. And yeah, please check out Farcast, please check out Warpcast. I wouldn't shill it unless I thought it was like good for us in the space. I do think it's like working over there. I don't know about Telegram. Jeez, guys, I have enough Telegram messages as is. Like, please do not add me to another Telegram group for as long as I live. You know what I'm saying? Because like that meme coin season was nuts. Everybody was adding me to all the telegrams. Yeah, this is that time where I and Ryan, we decide if we continue or we just wrap it up. Because the thing is, you don't just go to go. My whole thing is if you guys like enjoying these spaces and you like tuning in, please give it some love. It really does matter. I get hit up and they're like, hey, how are the analytics looking? How are things mattering out there? And some days I break down. I really do. Dalek, should I just buy a 5 million followers or just keep going? What is it? I mean, because sometimes it's tough. You see people in this space and they're like, Jesus, man, they suck. And you're just waiting, right? I'm like Bugs and that turtle. Speechless, dude. Speechless.
Keep going, Boo. Keep going for
And
sure.
we've also run it so long. This is another thing too. When you run spaces on X a certain amount of time, your phone gets hot. Things stop working. You start rugging. Another reason why you should always be checking out the technology. I mean, I have my headphones in right now, and I don't need them in because I'm not even using them. It's like seriously, another reason why you should always be checking, updating the technology. Going back to that story I told about the ollie, and I learned how to do it on the skateboard. The last time I felt that feeling was about 2.5 years ago when I put on the Oculus headset and I got to go into my loot pod for the first time, an artifact loot pod and all of that. And then I was like, holy shit, like, oh my gosh. And like, I still remember to the day at the pasta shop down the corner where this guy's like, are those shoes real? I want those shoes right now. And guys and gals, I cannot wait to get these void dunks in and to show the video again and then be like, look down. Okay. And again, this is just about your conviction and my conviction and everybody's conviction in between. And what else do I want to plug? There's more stuff I wanted to make sure I plugged before I left out here. Hold on. Oh yeah, Jay, if you're still there, because we did in the video stream, please go ahead and pin to the top Pukecast over there. They just posted it 13 hours ago. Shout out Puke Rainbow and Pukecast out there doing incredible things in Hong Kong with Rug Radio. And they've got me now on a Web3 gaming spaces that I'll be participating in next week, June 25th to June 28th. And guess what? After this space, I have to go download an iOS like game. I'm going to do my due diligence and make sure I'm not downloading something that will, suck all of my degen from my wallet that's connected through my app here for Farcaster. Again, I think that's about it, Ryan. Is there anything else you want to plug in all of that? We don't like to beat this drum too long because that leather needs to last to the next powwow.
No, don't want to beat the drum too long. Just immense thanks to you, Boo, for being a wonderful host, allowing me to spend time with you and Dalek today. It's been a pleasure. I'd happily join you at any time for one of these, but excited for the next one you do, even if I'm just in the audience vibing and listening. Dalek, thank you so much. You're incredible. Hopefully, we get to work together, whether it's with Jeff or just vibing in the future. I'm also going to Japan here in 2 weeks, so want to get any recommendations or tips from your time there of places I should definitely hit up. So much love to everybody here on the Spaces. JPEG J, thank you for being a wonderful producer during this. And yeah, thanks everyone. Really appreciate it.
Do Dalek fully rug? I always let the guest get the last word, but I don't. I always take it over, right? I can't stop talking. I love talking, y'all. I've missed you. God, we used to do this once a week. Oh, my Lord. Man, guess what? Dyson Spheres, check them out. Woo! Dyson Sphere Energy, baby. All right, with that, I'm going to play the song that I originally wanted to play in the beginning, but we had that technical issue, right? So when you're out there getting ice cream or getting a hot dog and the cashier is having issues with the credit card and the machine's not working right, take a breath. It's no one's fault. It's the tech. Learn it. Chill with it. Be patient. Love y'all. Check you on the next one because this guests are just going to keep getting better. Thank you so much for the time. And also listen back because we had a surprise guest with Jeff Staple today. Later, and we're also, oh, shit, hold on. Shout out RugRadio. Shout out Wallegard. Shout out Artifact Creators. We're going to keep creating, baby.